That gets my goat.
Okay, hey everybody, welcome. We are doing another That Gets My Goat.
Again, that trick never works.
It takes 3 licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop.
Yeah, I'll lick these. The topic of conversation this week, I'm going to give you the ball and let you run toward the end zone as if I had any idea what that meant.
Give me the ball and let me drop it. And there it is. We thought we'd talk about a fella. We've talked about him on the show before.
Was it Jason Bateman?
No, actually, it turns out Rish and I had the opportunity for the first time to go and see a live performance of one of our favorite music artists, who's named Jonathan Coulton, this week. And it was fun. I thought we'd talk about the experience that we had. Jonathan Coulton opened for They Might Be Giants, who've been around the music scene for, I think they said while we were there that day was the 25th anniversary of the release of their first album, or something like that, which means they've been around the block a few times. It's interesting, too, because I guess it's their style, They Might Be Giants. They never really punched through to full-on, recognition where everybody knows who they are. They're always kind of on the periphery, and I think it's because they have that new wave, that kind of avant-garde style here, there, where their songs don't necessarily speak to everybody right away. You might have to look into the words of the song a little further, or maybe even appreciate it for its musical value, or appreciate songs for something other than being able to dedicate them to your girlfriend on the all-party hit afternoon or whatever. But yeah, I really appreciate both of those acts myself. I'll have to admit I was a little bummed. Unfortunately,
that you were with me rather than
somebody that would have been fun to be with.
Well, see, I feel like you would have had the same experience had you gone to a Material Issue concert with me, where I would have been singing along with every single song, and you would have just been like, wow, I thought the lead singer killed himself in 1996. I'm like, he did. So maybe I wasn't really good company. You sort of dragged me to it. I was afraid to go. I didn't want to go. And part of it is what you said about They Might Be Giants. Now, I haven't followed them the way that you have, but it does seem like all of their stuff is avant-garde and too hip for the room. Maybe a lot of the jokes I don't get. If they are, I don't even realize if they are jokes. That's how above my head they go. But in their defense, I'll click through the channels and hear some really, really, really trite, super crass commercial stuff that's written for like a teenage girl who's had her very first crush at somebody in pre-algebra class, and they rhyme fate with plate, and they rhyme tree with me and stuff like that. And it's just so simplistic, and there's no subtext and there's no depth to it at all. It's just crap. Mm-hmm. Or worse, a step lower than the tree with me are these dance club songs.
Right.
It's like,
Put it in my ass, put it in my ass.
and that's the whole point.
The fist motion that you're doing there to go along with the drum beat.
It's all just songs two fists by. But I mean, each one is more horrible than the other, and it's all some asshole singing about how much play he gets on the dance floor. They do whole albums where every track is about that. And they sell millions of, downloads. I guess they don't sell actually any CDs at all. But They Might Be Giants, as far as I know, have never sold out and put out a song like that. And so, you don't
They
hear them.
Might Be Giants have put out a song like everything.
Oh, okay.
They've done a song in just about every style possible, I think. I don't know if there's any that they've missed. That was one of the things as we stood there and we watched them and they were going through their show, and they'd probably been going more than a half hour at least. I would say maybe even 45 minutes to a full hour by this point, and they still hadn't whipped out the accordion. And I was just like, oh, come on, man. If we go out of here and they don't play the accordion, I'm going to be really let down. And it was probably like the next song. All of a sudden he got out the accordion. I was like, there we go. Because the accordion. He played, what was that thing called? The bass clarinet.
He did play bass clarinet.
pulled
Something
out.
I'd never seen before, and from the noise it made, you'll never see it again.
It was just interesting, the range of things that they'll pull out and use in their songs. They're not afraid to experiment, which is cool.
But ever since been introduced to Jonathan Coulton, his stuff really speaks to me. His stuff moves me. It feels like it's written not by me, but by a guy like me. Mm-hmm. And his songs seem to be about something. And that's another thing with They Might Be Giants. Their songs seem to be about something other than just I like you, do you like me, or I'm going to fist you behind this curtain as the dance beat plays. It's about stuff I just don't get. I don't know. I can't understand what the They Might Be Giants songs are about. And you know what? It all could be a big joke. It all could be a big FU. They could be about nothing. I don't know. It's like Minimum Wage. What is that song about? But the Jonathan Coulton stuff is...
There's only 2 words in the whole song.
About a mad scientist love song, about, dreaming of world domination in the guise of a love song, things like that. They're so clever. And you know what? It might be, again, like Weird Al or something. They're so clever, they're never going to be mainstream. Jonathan Coulton, I have no idea what his most popular song is. Maybe it's the Still Alive song, because that's got the most exposure. I don't know. It
might be his cover of Baby Got Back.
Oh, good point.
Because that did get a lot of exposure as well.
And I don't know if he just put out a straightforward group of songs, an album that was just for mass consumption. I don't know what the reaction would be like. I always wondered what would happen if Weird Al put out just like a straight love song, or wrote one, or and had somebody else perform it, because he was obviously musically talented.
Right.
But as far as I know, that never happened. It's like, let's do American Pie to the story of the Phantom Menace. Just this is me making a jerking off motion, if you don't know. But anyway, let's talk about that. I was there to see Jonathan Coulton. I'd never seen him before. As far as I know, he'd never even been out of Iowa. And it was cool to see him. A super talented, super charismatic guy. But I was predisposed to like him anyway.
Yeah. Since he was the opening act, you couldn't know how many of the people that were in the room were there to see him. How many people knew his stuff. How many people liked him. We could see a few people. I mean, he came out and he said, "Hey, everybody." And there was, he started doing Skull Crusher Mountain, and you could see somebody in the crowd actually hold up a Skull Crusher Mountain t-shirt in their hands and go, "Whoa," when he started that song. So there were obviously some people that were there to see Jonathan Coulton above and beyond seeing They Might Be Giants.
He did the audience participation with Re Your Brains, but before it started, he told the audience to sing All We Want to Do Is Eat Your Brains. If he hadn't done that, I guess we could have seen how many people knew that song and knew to sing that. But I couldn't tell, and we were way in the back, so we couldn't see how many mouths were moving to the song.
It sure sounded when they all sang it like everybody knew it pretty darn well, though. When he said, "Okay, this is what you say, all we want to do, okay, let's try it." And everybody's like, zoop, and they hit it note for note. And he's like, "Okay, hold on here. You guys are supposed to be zombies, and zombies really aren't so good at singing in unison." And so, yeah, he had to teach us how to not sing it exactly right.
He zombified us.
Yeah. That was interesting. So maybe they were all there to see him. I don't really know. It's hard to say.
I wish that it had been just Jonathan Coulton all night long, and he was still making up songs on the spot, wishing that we would let him leave, but we won't. But again, I'm something of a psycho.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was kind of bummed, especially because he was the opening act, but his set just seemed like it was really short.
He like 7 or 8 songs, right?
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was that many songs.
And then there was an endless wait for They Might Be Giants to come out. And you know what, that may be just inevitable with musicians and stuff. But the whole time I was thinking, he could still be singing He could be doing another song right now.
It was almost as long as his whole set was the wait for They Might Be Giants to start. I think Jonathan Coulton only performed for about 40 minutes, and then it was close to 30 minutes before They Might Be Giants came out and started up on their bit. So it was a bit of a bummer. It was just so quick that he had time to basically do like all of his hits and a couple songs from the new album. Then that was it. And it was interesting, too. He did 2 songs from the new album.
Including the French one.
Yeah. One of the 2 that he picked was the song in French, which is kind of a funny song, but it's in French.
Yeah, and that was another thing that I love when musicians do, when they explain the backstory of the song or they explain the point of the song. It's often stuff I've never heard before.
Right.
And he talked about... what is the song called?
The song is called Je suis Rick Springfield.
And he talked about the premise of that. And it was really funny. And the people around me, there was a girl like 2 or 3 people away from me that laughed at the things that he was singing. Obviously, she understood the French and I didn't. But yeah.
I actually, a couple of days before the concert, had been listening to his new album. And I was like, what the heck is this that he's singing? So I went on to the internet looking for the words to the song, and you can find the words to the song as well as the translated words to the song. And when you read the translated words, it's pretty funny what he's saying. If only you knew. But yeah, unfortunately it is French, and I don't really speak French, and neither does Rish.
I was under the impression you spoke a little French.
Very small.
You just kiss that way?
Yeah, I do the kissing thing more often than the speaking.
Didn't you study French in high school?
I did study French in high school, actually. That was the language that I took, because,
I thought you studied German in high school.
No, I did a semester of German in junior college, in community college. Woohoo! We had our study group and everything.
Evil Troy and evil Abed.
Yeah, I did the German there and the French in high school. I took 2 years of French, and I probably learned more in the 1 semester of German than I did in the 2 years of French, but whatever.
Der Kinderstrasse.
But yeah, it was interesting. He played Shopvac, which I found to be an interesting choice too. That was what he opened the show with, was the Shopvac song, which is a funny song. It's an interesting song. It's kind of grim and sad as well when he says things like, yeah, you can cry and I probably won't hear you because it's loud with the Shopvac on. I don't know. Was there a song that you wished he had played that he didn't play?
He played Skull Crusher Mountain, which is my favorite of his songs. He played Re Your Brains and Still Alive, the ones that the audience really got into.
He played Code Monkey, which is my favorite Jonathan Coulton song of all. And I was kind of bummed because he played it much slower than the recording that you can get goes. The recording that you get is a very up-tempo rock song. And he played it. It was an acoustic show that we went to, by the way. It was just him,
and
his guitar, and nothing else.
No pants.
Yeah, no pants. No
pants!
So I guess it's probably harder to play it as a rock song. But the other songs he played generally to the tempo that you know them as. It kind of changed the feel of Code Monkey. I don't know. Whenever I hear Code Monkey, like for the last several weeks, I've had, as the time for the concert was coming, I decided I'd throw all the Jonathan Coulton that I had onto my iPod, and I would have it just play in shuffle. And every time Code Monkey would come up, it was just necessary for me to close the door and crank it all the way up and sing along loud and have a good time with the song. And yeah, when you slow it down and make it this ballad, it changes the feel of that. I mean, it's already a kind of a sad song when it comes down to it. It's this poor programmer dreaming about someday having everything, even pretty girl like you. Yeah, when you slow it down and make it all croony like he did, it's much more sad than it is when it's at the high speed. That's one of the things that I saw somebody was talking about, They Might Be Giants, and one of the things that they do is they have songs that have kind of depressing lyrics, but they set them to really upbeat, happy tunes, and so you don't necessarily get that same feeling. I think Code Monkey is the same kind of a thing, same kind of a song where you get that really upbeat, fun.
Well, so is Shopvac. Right? Like you said, it's weird. If you think about Shopvac, there is some darkness going on there. But there's an undercurrent of loneliness and almost despair in every one of Coulton's songs. I mean, maybe not in Re Your Brains, but the vast majority of his songs are like, I'm a geek on the outside looking in. It looks so nice in there. I've got a really funny perspective, but I'm on the outside. And that totally speaks to me. I mean, that's one of the reasons. That and, all the geek references and stuff are amusing to me. But it's just like there does seem to be pathos in those songs. And I can bash the beautiful people again. Pretty people have no souls. The happy people, they don't know what life is all about. It's the unhappy people that actually have something to say.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I was just listening on the way over here, after we had met on the way over here, the song Blue Sunny Day came up on my iPod, and that's another one of those songs where it's about a sad vampire.
Oh, that's what it's about. Yeah, you pointed that out to me one time, and I didn't make the connection, even how many times I'd listened to it. I didn't realize that's what it was about.
Yeah, it's a vampire who's sad. He misses you. You don't know who it is he's talking about, but he says, since you've been gone or whatever, it's always this way. And he just wants to go out and see the sun, the blue sunny day. And sometimes he stands at his garden gate and sees just how long he can stay there before he has to go in and get into his coffin and sleep the day away. And in the end, he finally takes the plunge and steps out into the sun to see the sun one last time. And then the wind blows him away.
Oh.
Because he's just ashes.
Sometimes you don't know what a song is about, and somebody will tell you. I mean, it was usually in like high school or college, especially in college, because there's so many know-it-alls that would tell you what this song is really about.
This song's really about smoking pot.
Yeah, in an attempt to dissuade you from liking it or burst your bubble, or, I mean, around here people like to do that all the time. They want to tear down because it makes them feel taller. But yeah, sometimes when you hear something like that, it opens up the song in a whole new way. And then other times you're just like, oh, shoot, I wish somebody hadn't told me what that's about. Sting would always complain that fans misunderstood Every Breath You Take. Mm-hmm. And people would come up to him and say, this was our wedding song. I married my wife to this song. Thank you, Sting. And he'd be like, you bloody idiot. And that's one of those where I was like, you can't make me unlove Every Breath You Take, Mr. Sumner. You'll never do it. Stop trying. But, it's just, there's these things like this where somebody's like, oh, do you know what Good Girls Don't is really about? And the stuff with the Jonathan Coulton songs it's a whole new level of fun or of appreciation to me for the songs. And yeah, when you told me the Blue Sunny Day was about a vampire, it was like it became more than just an ode to a nice day outside, which I just had assumed it was. And again, going back to my complaint earlier, a lot of these songs that are on the radio that are so popular are about nothing. Mm-hmm. And I have a friend whose wife loves any song that is about nothing. Any overplayed, overrated, trite song that they play at the end credits of American Idol or something like that, she just eats up. And I don't know if maybe I'm missing out because I can't like those songs, but like that James Blunt You're Beautiful song, which granted has gone away, thank God. But it's just, once I actually listened to that song, to the words of that song, I could never like it again. What horseshit. He sees a pretty girl on the street and she's with another guy, and that's the song. She's beautiful. That's the song, and it was so puerile, and it's like, what you've made this giant ballad about a girl you don't even know her friggin' name, but he makes it like this huge epic thing about that this has changed his life, and he's gone on, and everything in the world is different and better, and this coffee tastes better. I didn't even put cream in it. Taste it, because there was a pretty girl.
Fucking high, and I don't think that I'll see her again, but we shared a moment that will last till the end.
but just like, F you, James Blunt. F you right here. There's a dance club just down the block. I'm sorry. I like to entertain myself. But yeah, a lot of these songs that just have nothing going on. I guess I've just gotten older, you know. I love to death Debbie Gibson songs in the 1980s. They're just like, this girl's just a little bit older than us, and she wrote them herself. You know, Electric Youth.
Yeah, those are deep songs.
I don't know if I could listen to Electric Youth now. But it just, that's growing up and appreciating new things and I don't know.
To be continued.
Can you say continued?
Continued.
Can you say continued?
To be continued.
Say to be continued.
To be continued.
Continued.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Early light that burns my eyes. A minute more, the sun will rise and paint the bright blue sky with yellow gold. I'll be dead asleep by then, shut up in this box again until it's gone. Outside I can hear it, birds are singing, bees are buzzing, sun shines overhead. I'd be there to see it, but I can't get out of bed. Since the day you left, the weather always feels this way. One more blue sunny day. Looking for an easy mark, I hit the Denny's after dark and take a lonely waitress home to drink. She's sincere, but halfway through I find I'm wishing she was you. My blood goes cold. I guess this date is over. Several hours later, I'm the only one awake. All these streets are empty, it's just me and my mistake. One by one the stars go out as black sky turns to gray. One more blue sunny day. Sometimes I see how long I can wait. Tempting disaster by my garden gate. My trembling hands on the cellar door. Trying not to think of what it is I'm waiting for. All at once I've had enough. As if I'm made of sterner stuff, I take a breath and open up the door. Dawn breaks hard